I told him. 10 years of swallowing fire, and I finally let it burn through my lips. I told Nathan that his best friend, Edgar, the man who stood beside him at our wedding, the man who toasted to our forever with that sick smile, he hurt me. He forced himself on me the night of Nathan's bachelor party while Nathan was passed out in the next room. And I never said a word. Not until now. Nathan stared at me like I had grown horns. No hug. No I am sorry. Just one cold question that still rings in my chest like gunfire. Why would you wait 10 years to tell me? Were you even ever loyal to me? That was when I realized I might have lost him, even before I spoke. Before I go on, let me take a moment to appreciate everyone watching this video. If you are subscribed to this channel, thank you for riding with us. And if you are new here, or you have been watching without subscribing, I want you to know that your support means the world. Hitting that subscribe button is not just a click, it is the fuel that keeps this channel alive and growing. Please like this video and drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Now, let us go back to where the storm began. My name is Valerie. I am 37 years old, and I live in Chandler, Arizona. I met Nathan in college. He was that guy, funny, charming, the center of the room without even trying. Edgar was always close behind him. Wherever Nathan went, Edgar followed. They were more like brothers than friends. Nathan and I got engaged after 2 years of dating. We were young, crazy in love, and planning the wedding of our dreams. Then, 3 days before the wedding, it happened. Nathan had gone out for a bachelor party. They drank, came back to Edgar's house. Nathan passed out. I had been helping Edgar clean up because Nathan texted me earlier that he left his wallet there. That was when Edgar cornered me in the hallway. He said things I do not ever want to repeat. He touched me without permission. I froze. My body shut down. I still do not know how I got home that night. I remember sitting on the floor of my bathroom, shaking, but I did not tell anyone, not even my sister.
Why?
Because Edgar was Nathan's best friend. Because I was scared. Because deep down I thought Nathan would blame me, or worse, leave me. And I loved him too much to lose him. So I buried it. Married him. Smiled through the pain. Built a home. Tried to forget. But some wounds do not heal when you ignore them. They fester. 10 years passed. Every time Edgar came over, my stomach twisted. Every time Nathan laughed at his jokes, I wanted to scream. Then last month, our son had a school event. Edgar showed up because he was Uncle Edgar. He tried to hug me in front of everyone like nothing happened. That was my breaking point. I sat Nathan down that night. Told him everything. Word for word. Tears running down my face. Hands shaking. Heart begging him to just believe me. And do you know what he did? He looked at me like I was filth. Like I was the one who ruined everything. He said I broke his trust by not telling him sooner. He said I should have come clean before we even got married. Then he asked me the question I will never forget. So, did you let it happen? I could not breathe. He walked out that night, left the house without another word. And I stood there wondering, was protecting him all these years the biggest mistake of my life? Nathan did not come home for 3 days. No calls. No texts. Just silence. When he finally answered, his voice was dry like Arizona heat. He said he was at Edgar's place. Edgar's place. My whole body went cold. I asked him how he could stay with the man I told him violated me. He replied, I just needed to hear both sides. Both sides. As if my pain was a debate. As if there was a version of the truth where Edgar's actions could somehow be justified. I tried to explain again. I told Nathan that silence is not consent. That fear does not mean approval. That trauma does not always come with a scream. But he had already decided that my timing made me the liar. He told me, if it was real, you would have told me right away. You had a choice, Valerie, and you chose to keep it from me. I was shattered. Not only did I lose his trust, but now I was being blamed for how I survived. When he came back to the house, he slept in the guest room. No eye contact, no warmth, only cold movements and closed doors. We ate in silence, lived in silence. I was grieving a marriage that had not even died yet, but I knew it was slipping through my fingers. Edgar, of course, spun the whole story. He told Nathan I came on to him, that I regretted it later. He even said I flirted with him on the night of the bachelor party. Nathan told me that, as if it was some kind of proof. I almost laughed from the bitterness in my chest. I asked him, "Do you think I would carry this pain for 10 years just to destroy your friendship now?" He did not answer. Instead, he started staying out late. He said he needed space to think. I saw the shift in his eyes. The man who once loved me deeply now looked at me like I was a stranger in his house. One night, I picked up his phone by accident, thinking it was mine. There was a message from Edgar. It said, "Told you. She was never as loyal as you thought." That was the moment I knew. Nathan was no longer mine. Not really. He stopped protecting me the moment I told him the truth. His loyalty was never to me. It was to the version of me he created in his mind. Perfect, untouched, silent. Once I broke that illusion, I became disposable. I asked him why he could forgive Edgar so easily, but not me. He said, because Edgar did not lie to me for 10 years. And then he packed a bag and left for a weekend trip. With Edgar, I stood at the window and watched his car disappear down the road. And in that moment, something in me broke quietly. Not with screams or fists, just the slow, painful understanding that I had protected a man who would never do the same for me. I waited. I waited through another weekend of silence. I waited through the stares at the school pickup line. I waited through friends calling to check in, pretending not to already know. I waited for my husband to come back, not just physically, but emotionally. But when Nathan returned, he brought a new kind of silence, one filled with decisions he had already made. He told me he could not look at me the same way anymore. He said he would never understand why I stayed quiet, why I let the man who violated me smile in our wedding photos, stand in our living room, hold our child. I told him I had stayed quiet because I was scared, because I did not want to break him, because women like me are taught to survive, not speak, because it is easier for people to believe a man like Edgar than a woman who stayed. Nathan stood with his arms crossed, like a wall I could no longer reach. He said, "You chose silence. That silence broke us." No. What broke us was his refusal to see me, really see me. To understand that I did not hide this because I was unfaithful. I hid it because I was hurting. I asked him one last time, "Do you believe me? Do you believe I did not want this? That I never asked for it?" He said, "It does not matter anymore. I do not trust you." And just like that, 10 years of marriage unraveled like paper in water. I begged for therapy. He said no. I suggested a break, not a divorce. He said it would only delay the inevitable. So I stopped asking. I started packing. Not because I was guilty, but because I refused to live in a house where truth was treated like betrayal. I moved in with my sister. Started therapy. Stopped blaming myself. Stopped covering my scars with silence. Weeks passed, then months. And slowly, I began to breathe again. I began to laugh with my son without faking it. I began to look in the mirror and see a woman, not a wound. One day, Nathan sent a message. It said, "I still do not know what to believe, but I hope you're okay." That was all. No apology, no regret, just a breadcrumb of guilt tossed into my healing. I did not respond, because I finally understood something. I was never supposed to carry his comfort and my trauma at the same time. I thought protecting him made me loyal, But in reality, it only made me invisible. Now I choose to be seen. Even if that means standing alone. Even if it took 10 years and a broken marriage to learn. I did not deserve what Edgar did. I did not deserve how Nathan responded. But I deserve to heal. And I am finally letting myself. If this story touched you in any way, please share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been punished for telling the truth too late? Do you think trust can survive that kind of silence? I want to hear your stories too. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. It is your support that keeps this channel alive and helps more voices be heard. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for seeing me.